June Carter Cash was the fiery soul behind one of country music's most famous love stories, but not many people know the scary secrets she left behind. Her once bustling home is now empty and forgotten, leaving it in a creepy quiet. She has had 3 husbands, 3 kids, and a life full of both happiness and sadness. Her smile only showed a small part of her story, what is left after her sad death, and who will carry on her work. Watch this video to find out. A very well-known singer, songwriter, and actress named June Carter Cash got a bad news in April 2003 that would change her life forever. The doctors told her she had a leaky heart valve, which is a dangerous problem that could get worse if it's not fixed. They told her that surgery to repair the valve was the only way out. Carter was getting ready for surgery because she knew it would be a turning point in her health journey. Carter had already had an amazing and difficult life. Carter had surgery to repair his heart valve on May 7, 2003. At first, the process was thought to have gone well, but soon after, problems that were not expected started to happen. Even though the medical staff did everything they could, her health quickly got worse over the next few days. The woman, who was once full of life and strength and famous for her gifts to country music and her love for her family, had a hard time with the effects of the surgery. June Carter Cash died on May 15, 2003, only 8 days after the surgery. She was 73 years old. Her death was a huge loss for the music world and her family, especially Johnny Cash, her husband of 35 years. They were very close to each other in both their personal and work lives. Their love story is one of the longest lasting in the music business. Carter was an important person in Johnny Cash's life. He helped him deal with his drug problems and gave him the safety and support he needed to do well in his later years. Johnny was not the only one who missed her. Her children, grandkids, and fans all over the world also felt the same way. People from the community and her family came together to say their last goodbyes after she died. Carter had been a member of the First Baptist Church in Hendersonville, Tennessee, for a long time. The funeral was open to the public. It was a good place for the service to be held because she and Johnny Cash had built a life together in Hendersonville and loved that place very much. People from the community, her family, friends, and fans came together to honor her life. She had given so much to music and to those around her. To honor her mother, Carter's stepdaughter Rose and Cash gave a moving and emotional speech at the funeral. Roseanne told June if being a wife were a corporation, June would have been a CEO. It was her most treasured role. These words showed how dedicated June was to her marriage and how close she was to her family. June was more than just Johnny Cash's wife. She was his partner in every way. The care and strength she showed during their years together showed how much she loved him and their children. She was the rock that the family stood on, and being a wife and mother was the most important thing to her. Her death set off a chain of terrible events for the Cash family. After only 4 months, on September 12, 2003, her beloved husband Johnny Cash died from effects from diabetes. The Man in Black's death marked the end of an age in country music. He was one of the most important people in the genre. His death was very sad for everyone, not just his close friends and family. Millions of people who grew up with his songs saw him as a role model for strength and honesty. People had been interested in Johnny's love story for decades, and his death marked the end of a part in it. Rosie Nix Adams, June Carter Cash's daughter, died on October 24, 2003, just over a month after her mother. This caused more sadness for the family. Rose's death caused more pain for a family that was already sad. Having June die, then Johnny die, and then Rosie die was a terrible chain of events that had a huge impact on the Cash family. Many people are reminded by these events how short life is, and how hard it can be to lose a loved one, especially when it happens to a family that is very close and well known. There is a quiet cemetery close to where June Carter Cash, Johnny Cash, and Rosie Nix Adams lived in Hendersonville, Tennessee, where they were all buried together. Not only was this a physical place where they were buried, but it was also a symbol of how their love will live on through their songs. The fact that the Cash family is at the Memory Gardens shows how much they meant to the town they lived in and how much of an impact they had on the music world. Fans and family can pay their respects to a family that changed country music and the hearts of people who followed their paths. Nobody will ever forget June Carter Cash, Johnny Cash, or Rosie Nix Adams. Their deaths were not only sad for their families, but also for the whole world. There is love, music, and strength in the Cash family story. Their death left a hole that could never be fully filled. That being said, their songs, the way they changed the business, and the love they had for each other live on. Their story is about being strong, loving each other, and how family bonds can't be broken, not even by death. Now, let's talk about June Carter Cash's alleged will. House of Fist Smith Carter in Madison, Tennessee. The historic Smith Carter House is at 1020 Gibson Drive in Madison, Tennessee. It is very important to the history of country music and to the life of June Carter Cash, who is one of its most famous stars. The house, which was built in 1925, was more than just a home. It was an important part of country music history and was connected to the lives of some of the biggest names in the business. June had strong roots in the music world, especially when she was married to Carl Smith. The Smith Carter House is a reminder of this, and it was also the center of her early career and musical collaborations. When June Carter Cash was married to country music singer and songwriter Carl Smith, they lived in the Smith Carter House. The house was more than just a place to live. It was a lively spot where some of the biggest names in country music would get together. People from the past, like June's close friend Patti Cline and Elvis Presley, who would later play a major role in her personal and business life, often stopped by. The house became an important part of the social and artistic life of the time because it was a place where people got together to play music and hang out. These famous people would have met in the cozy rooms of the Smith Carter House. They would have shared ideas and encouraged the kind of teamwork that was so common in the golden age of country music. Within the walls of this house, Carter Cash's career had one of the most important events of June. In 1963, June wrote one of her best-known songs, Ring of Fire, with Mary Smith Carter while living in the Smith Carter House. The song became a huge hit for her husband at the time, Johnny Cash, and went on to become one of the most famous country songs ever. With its unique mix of mariachi horns and June's heartfelt lyrics, it captured the intensity of love and desire and will always be a classic. Making Ring of Fire in the kitchen of the Smith Carter House is a reminder of the creative energy and family-friendly environment that filled the house. It was a place where music was made and where being artistic was as normal as making food in the kitchen. The land around the Smith Carter House is also very interesting. The house covers almost 13 acres and gives you a sense of privacy and peace, which were very important to June Carter Cash while she lived there. A swimming pool was on the large grounds. It was not only a fun thing to do, but also a place for the family to relax together. The house also has a copy of the 12th hole at Augusta National Golf Club, which is a nod to June's love of both leisure and relaxation. This one-of-a-kind story shows how June made every part of her life special by combining her love of music with a more relaxed way of life. The Smith Carter House became officially important in 2018 when it was added to the National Register of Historic Places. This award recognized how important the house was to June Carter Cash and how it helped shape the history of country music. The house is now known for more than just its beauty. It's also linked to the long history of country music and has a special place in June and her family's personal and business lives. The listing on the National Register helps protect the house's past so that future generations will know how important it was as both a home and a place to work. Hendersonville Lakehouse in Hendersonville, Tennessee, comes in second. John Carter Cash and June Carter Cash, two of the most famous people in country music, moved into a huge, impressive 14,000 square foot house at 200 Cottle Drive in Hendersonville, Tennessee in 1968. This house would be their main residence for more than 30 years, becoming a beloved safe haven for them and a sign of their life together on and off the stage. The house was on a beautiful piece of land with a view of Old Hickory Lake. It had beautiful views and a lot of privacy, so the famous couple could get away from the stress of their public lives and enjoy the peace of nature. The house was as unique as the people who lived there. The homes were made from a mix of stone and wood, and their construction was one of a kind, combining rustic charm with modern design elements. The use of natural materials gave the house a grounded, earthy feel that went well with the peaceful nature around Old Hickory Lake. The house was built with big glass windows that let in a lot of natural light and gave the rooms stunning views of the lake. These windows also made the home feel open and connected to the outdoors. Stone, wood, and glass were used together to give the house a classic, elegant look that fit the Cash family's style and beliefs. More than just a house, the land was there. That's where June and Johnny Cash went to find comfort and strength. The house became a place of healing and comfort for the couple, who had both been through hard times in their personal lives. Johnny was fighting an addiction, and June was dealing with the trials of being famous. This house was where Johnny and June had many of their most private times, both alone and with their family. It's where they raised their kids, made memories, and got some peace and quiet away from everyone else. This house was always there for them, a real reminder of how much they loved each other and the basis of their relationship. The house was also a place for the couple to be creative. Johnny would often go there to write and work on his music. Their Hendersonville estate's privacy and peace made it possible for Johnny to think and concentrate, which were both important for his music. The couple's marriage and their home life were deeply connected to their music jobs. The house was where many creative ideas were born. Johnny Cash's music, which is known for being brutally honest and showing how hard things were for him, was shaped by the home that gave him the peace and quiet he needed. There were good times and bad times for the Cash family at 200 Cottle Drive. Along with the happiness of family life, the Cash house saw some of the hardest times in their lives, like Johnny's struggles with drug abuse and health problems. Even with these problems, the house was still a sign of stability and love for the pair. It was there that Johnny found support in June, who was his rock of strength, and where they both found comfort in the peace and quiet. Over the years, the house became deeply connected to both their music and their personal lives. It saw both their successes and failures. In 2007, though, tragedy struck when a fire destroyed the house while it was being fixed up. Around this time, Johnny and June were no longer living in the house because they had died. John in 2003 and June in 2003, not long after each other. The house was sold to Barry Gibb of the BG, who wanted to fix it up. Unfortunately, a fire broke out during the repairs, destroying the building completely. People who knew and loved the Cashes were very sad when they lost the house because the people who lived there were so important to their lives and memory. The third one is House of Cash in Hendersonville, Tennessee. The House of Cash was right next to Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash's home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. It was a museum and headquarters for honoring and preserving the life, music, and memory of the famous country music star Johnny Cash. The House of Cash became an important part of the Cash family's story when it opened in 1970. It gave fans and tourists a look into the life of one of the most important people in American music history. It was the museum, situated on the land next to the couple's home, making it a personal extension of Johnny's life and work. It quickly became a popular spot for people wanting to learn more about his amazing journey. The House of Cash wasn't meant to be a museum at first. It was meant to be a place where different parts of Johnny Cash's business and artistic activities could be kept. It was changed from an existing dinner theater, which had been used for live shows and other events before it was changed. The large size of the building made it perfect for a museum, as well as Cash's secretarial work and his ongoing music projects and recording studio. Even though Johnny Cash lived away from the liveliness of Nashville, he was still able to stay creative here. This made it an important place for both his work and personal life. Fans and other people who came to honor the man in black will have a great time in the museum, which was built to show how deep and wide Johnny Cash's impact is. It had a lot of Johnny memorabilia from all over his work, like his famous stage clothes, guitars, gold records, and personal items. People could learn about different parts of his life, from his early years in Arkansas to his rise to fame as a major figure in country music, to his later years as a cultural and political hero. People could connect more deeply with Johnny Cash's music and story at the House of Cash. They could see the ups and downs of his work and life through the things that had shaped him. The House of Cash not only showed off Johnny's music business, but it also showed what family meant to him in his personal life. The museum told the story of the Cash family by showing things that were important to Johnny and June Cash, their children, and the songs they made together. Along with helping the place be successful, June Carter Cash was very involved in it. She also ran the Amqui Antique Store in the building. June opened the store as a hobby and ran it for more than 10 years, selling antiques, collectibles, and things that had to do with the Cash family's past. Both locals and tourists loved it because it combined June's love of antiques with the Cash family's history in a way that made people feel warm and nostalgic. Adding the Amqui Antique Store to the House of Cash made a unique connection between June's personal hobbies and the museum's focus on Johnny Cash's music. June's impact could be seen in the store, where she chose items that were important to her and her family. Her store showed who she was and how much she loved collecting, and it added another layer of connection to the Cash family's way of life and beliefs. June's work in the store also showed how much she cared about continuing her family's legacy and making sure that their past was kept alive in a way that felt personal and important to her. The House of Cash Museum was successful in its early years, but it closed in 1995. This was the end of a time for the Cash family's public, facing preservation of Johnny's memory in that way. The building is still an important part of the Cash family's past, even though the museum isn't there anymore. It's a sign of how much Johnny and June loved their music, their family, and their town. Their work and their promise to keep their shared past alive for future generations are both kept in the building, which is a physical reminder of how they changed the world. Fourth one is Dogwood Estate in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash built a house for their son John Carter Cash in 1987. It was meant to be a memory as well as a safe place for him. There are 21 acres of land that make up the Dogwood Estate in Hendersonville, Tennessee. It was meant to be both comfortable and connected to nature. This unique home, which was a personal project for the Cash family, would become an important part of John Carter Cash's childhood and formative years. Because John Carter Cash grew up in a home full of music, history, and creativity, the house was built just for him. Since Johnny and June only had one son, Jay, his life was shaped by the rich musical and artistic traditions of both of them. Johnny and June were very involved in the country music world. The Dogwood Farm was meant to be more than just a house. It was meant to be a place where John could relax and connect with nature. The Dogwood Estate was planned by the famous architect Braxton Dixon, whose work was known for taking into account the natural surroundings. The estate was carefully built, combining modern comforts with historical features that showed how much the Cash family valued custom and history. The main house on the estate had 2 bedrooms and open wood walls that made it feel warm and rustic. This was one of the things that made the estate stand out. This design choice not only brought out the natural beauty of the area, but it also made the house feel warm and cozy, just right for a family. The painted glass windows in the main house were another thing that stood out. The artistic addition of these windows, which were both beautiful and useful, added to the unique look of the house. The brightly colored glass let in a variety of colors of natural light, which cast bright shadows all over the house. The windows became a sign of how the house was linked to Johnny and June's creative and artistic spirit. Their lives were full of color, both literally and figuratively, through their music and personal stories. Along with the main house, the Dogwood Estate had a beautiful log cabin from the 18th century that the Cash family had carefully renovated. Family's respect for history and desire to keep the past alive while living in the present was shown by the house, which had been there before the Cashes came. Johnny and June worked hard to fix up the cabin because they loved history and wanted to live in a place that was both modern and traditional. The cabin was a real link to the past, and its presence on the land gave it more character and depth. During his teenage years, John Carter Cash found peace and quiet on the Dogwood Estate, away from the attention that his famous parents often drew. Being raised in a home with constant music and a long history of country music filled the air, the farm gave him a one-of-a-kind chance to live in a quiet place surrounded by nature and his family's history. This is where John found comfort and motivation. He would later use what he learned here when he started his own music career. John Carter Cash sold the house in 1993, only a few years after living there, even though it was very nice and beautiful. The farm was sold, and that was the end of his time there. However, it was an important part of his childhood, and the memories he made there will stay with him forever. A desire for a new start is likely what made them decide to sell the land. In the same way that John was starting his own adult life and work, the sale of the Cash family home was a turning point in their history. Johnny and June's children were leaving the home where they had grown up to go their own separate ways. Number 5, Cinnamon Hill, Montego Bay, Jamaica. June Carter Cash and Johnny Cash, who are both famous for their contributions to country music, also looked for peace and quiet to get away from the stress of their public lives. In order to do that, they bought Cinnamon Hill, a beautiful vacation home in Montego Bay, Jamaica. The farm was their private getaway, a spot where they could relax, recharge, and find comfort in each other's company, away from the constant attention and duties of their jobs in the U.S. They lived in Cinnamon Hill more than just as a vacation house. It was a safe place where they could enjoy the peace and quiet of the Caribbean, while also enjoying Jamaica's lively culture and stunning natural beauty. In the beautiful Montego Bay, the estate was set on a large plot of land with wide views of the tropical scenery and the clear blue waters of the Caribbean Sea. With its gentle ocean air, colorful plants, and soothing sounds of nature, the area around Johnny and June was the perfect place to relax and think. The estate was built to fit the couple's way of living, which was both casual and fancy. It was meant to be their vacation home. Cinnamon Hill had a mix of traditional Caribbean building and modern comforts, making it a peaceful place for Johnny and June to unwind and forget about the outside world. Beautifully kept gardens and shady paths surrounding the house, so the couple could take long walks through the grounds. The open-air design of the house made the most of the tropical weather. Large windows and verandas let in beautiful views of the scenery, bringing the outdoors into every room. Besides the beauty of the land itself, Cinnamon Hill's location in Montego Bay provided a lot of fun things to do and places to discover. The couple could enjoy the beautiful beaches, do water sports like fishing or scuba diving, or just take in Jamaica's lively culture, which has long been an inspiration to musicians of all styles. The property was also close to some of Jamaica's most famous landmarks, such as the Rose Hall Great House, an ancient plantation house with traditions in the area. Because Johnny and June lived close, they were able to fully experience the island's past and culture when they visited. It was more than just a quiet place to get away at Cinnamon Hill. They could also have small gatherings with close family, friends, and coworkers there, where they could feel comfortable and alone. Since Johnny and June were often in the news, the farm gave them a rare chance to host events away from the attention of the media. They liked having people over to their house for meals, music, and talk in a cozy setting. It was easygoing on the island, and the estate gave people space, so it was a great place to meet new people and connect with them in a more genuine way. Cinnamon Hill used to be just a quiet place to get away, but now it's also a popular place for events like weddings. Couples who want a destination wedding with a bit of elegance and tropical allure would love this property because it is beautiful, peaceful, and has a unique Caribbean charm. Over the years, the property's large grounds, lush gardens, and dramatic views of the sea have made it a unique place for many weddings. Couples can celebrate their special day in a place that has long been linked to love and happiness. The farm has a long history that includes two of the most famous people in country music. This history adds a romantic and mysterious touch to any event that takes place there. That has to do with assets. What about June Carter Cash's private life? His life was full of love, music, and a strong desire to help others and care for his family. She got married 3 times in her life, and each marriage added something different to her personal memory. Following in the footsteps of her famous family, the Carters, and her own singing endeavors, Her children from each of her marriages went on to become successful in the world of country music. Carter got married to country singer Carl Smith for the first time on July 9, 1952. She would go through a big change in her personal and work life when she got married. They wrote the song Time's a-Wastin' together, which showed how much they loved music together. Becky Carlin Smith, who would later go by the stage name Carlin Carter, was born to June and Carl while they were married. Just like her mother, Carlin became a famous person in country music for her work as a singer and songwriter. Unfortunately, June and Carl's marriage ended in 1956, but their daughter would take after her parents' singing skills and make a name for herself in the country music business. After getting divorced from Carl Smith, June married Edwin Rip Nix on November 11, 1957. Nix had been a football player and a police officer. Their marriage was another important part of June's life, and on July 13, 1958, they had a second daughter, Rosie Nix Adams. Along with her mother, Rosie tried her hand at singing and became known as a country and rock singer. There was a split between June and Rip, though, in 1966. Rosie Nix Adams died in a terrible accident in 2003 when she was 45 years old. She died in a school bus that had been turned into a camping van from breathing in too much carbon monoxide. Rose's unexpected death caused June a lot of pain, but she stayed committed to her family and her music, even though she was going through a hard time. 1968 was the year June Carter met Johnny Cash, the love of her life, and they got married. Johnny and June were deeply in love with music together, and their union as a couple and in the music business became one of the most famous in the history of country music. At a live show at the London Ice House in London, Ontario, Johnny Cash asked June to marry him. This was the start of their love story, a loving act that made the two people promise to love and work together forever. They got married on March 1, 1968, in Franklin, Kentucky. Being together brought them happiness and made them more artistic. They raised a son together, whose name was John Carter Cash, and who went on to become a well-known singer, songwriter, and producer in his own right. June Love and Johnny Cash's marriage was more than just two famous musicians getting together. Before June's death in May 2003, they had been close for more than 30 years. During their time together, Johnny and June made music that will last forever. June Carter wrote the famous hit Ring of Fire. Their relationship was strongly connected to their music, and fans all over the world could feel how much they loved each other and their craft. Janie died just 4 months before Johnny, which was very sad. Their love story was one of great artistic successes and serious personal loss. June became a stepmother to 4 girls from Johnny Cash's first marriage to Vivian Liberto, in addition to her own children. Along with Cindy, Roseanne, and 2 other girls, these women became part of the Cash family as a whole, and June loved being a loving stepmother to them. Johnny Cash's daughter from his first marriage, Roseanne Cash, became a very famous country music singer and songwriter. This added to the Cash family's fame in the music business. With love and respect, June's relationships with her stepdaughters were strong. They had a deep connection that came from being part of one of the most important families in country music. One interesting thing about June Carter Cash's life was that she was related to Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, who was a distant cousin. Throughout their lives, June and Jimmy Carter stayed close friends. And in a speech in June 1977, Jimmy Carter said that June was a distant cousin of his. June had a strong sense of family and community, and this bond made those feelings even stronger. Besides being close to her family, June was also a dedicated fundraiser who supported many good causes. June was a lifelong backer of SOS Children's Villages, an organization that helps children in need around the world by giving them homes and schools. They gave money to help build a town near their home in Barrett Town, Jamaica, in 1974. The Cashes often went to the village to play music and sing songs for the kids. They brought happiness and hope to people who were struggling. This act of kindness was just one of many that showed how much June cared about other people and wanted to make a difference in their lives. June was a generous person, and she was also close with many other entertainers, both inside and outside of the country music business. She was friends with country music star Patti Cline for a long time. June was very sad when Cline died in a plane crash. Loretta Lynn, Jesse Coulter, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, Elvis Presley, and Robert Duvall were some of the famous people she was friendly with. These connections showed how friendly and open June was, as well as her skill at making deep ties with people in the entertainment business. June and Johnny went to the First Baptist Church in Hendersonville, Tennessee, near the end of her life. There, they found spiritual support and a sense of community. They put a lot of value on their faith, and their church was a place where they could find comfort and strength in both good and bad times. How do you feel about June Carter Cash? Please tell us what you think in the box below. We hope this video was helpful for you. Kindly click like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Glad you watched, and see you in the next film.
Thank you.